yeah, it would come up to the house and scratch on the house. Well, I was staying with her one night, and we were sitting in there, and we heard like this knock at the front door. And we knew at nighttime you didn't just open the door. So she walked over to the door. At the top of her door was a wooden door. It had one of those like diamond windows at the top. So she looks out the door. She's like, there's nobody out there. So she shuts the thing she had hanging up there, and it knocks again. She opened the door, and she looks out, and right above the door is the roof, so she's looking out. She doesn't see anybody. As soon as she shuts the door, it knocks. She calls my uncle, the one who was in Vietnam. He shows up. Of course, he's got his light and his gun and everything, and he comes up there, and he's looking around the house and everything, and he comes in the house, and he kind of like gets on to Granny. He's like, don't open that door when you hear that. She goes, there's nothing out there. And he goes, oh, it's out there. And she said, what do you mean? And he said, come here and look. He took her to the front door, and on the front door at the very top, there looked like snot or something like that on the top of the door. And he told her, he said, what's happening is it's on top of the house, leaning over, knocking on the door. And when you open that door, it was right there above you looking at you.
Welcome back to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. I'm your host, Tom Franklin. And today we have on Michael McKee from Abnormal Investigations, former law enforcement, or at least has a background in law enforcement, in the cryptids, paranormal, I imagine something like that. He's got all that involved. We're going to find all that out together. If you keep coming back to the Eye of Jupiter, please do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you have been subscribed, please check to see if you are still subscribed, because sometimes the algorithm does like to mess with us over here on the Eye. You can also become a member, get episodes early, and you can also, there's a different tier for anything that's over an hour. You can go ahead and get that. And all the links in the description below for my guest as well as myself. And with all that out of the way, let's welcome to the Eye of Jupiter, Michael McKee. What's up, buddy?
Not much. How are you?
Oh man, it's just worked really hard today. Everyone knows this, but I am a English tutor here in Mexico, and I was hitting hard today, and then I took a little nap before the show. So yeah, I'm so glad that you came on. I reached out to you via email. I got Daniel from Backwoods Signal to give me your info contact, and he said not a problem, and you were so gracious as to come on. So thank you, first of all.
Oh, no, it's an honor to be here. I enjoy talking about it and learning, learning. That's what it's about, is learning.
Yeah, and hopefully making people safer too, if necessary, and all that in the process as well, because it could be, you hear some stories and you're like, okay, I think we need to be safe. So, Michael, do me a favor, tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you.
I started Abnormal Investigations back in about 2021. The reason I started it is my family, my mom and them, they were raised in a home to where they had cryptids that bothered them. And I grew up through that into adulthood and experienced what they had experienced as children. Always wondered what they was, why they done what they done, where they come from, what their intent was. And even as a kid, there was that fascination, but also a fear, because it was every night was scary. Okay. It wasn't nothing fun. We hated, being at Granny's house at night. It wasn't fun. And I wanted to find out what it was. I had was going into law enforcement, was getting my cleat certification, was riding, getting ready to go into law enforcement. I was offered a career at the open seaport, Port of Catoosa. I worked out there with the United States Coast Guard. It secures that port there. It's an open seaport. And took off from there, stayed in security, became an investigator, got media relations training, worked at the special operations and tactics at a mall. We worked with all the, I guess, if you have an active shooter or something that was a higher response level. Did a lot of that. And mainly just stayed in that pretty much all my life. Cleat certified over 25 years.
Okay.
And I just use a lot of those skills I learned, and I just try to apply them to the cryptids just to, see what we're dealing with, hopefully.
No shit, dude. That's freaking cool. So we just kind of took, so basically this is just your fascination as well as your experiences connected with your law enforcement background and kind of put them together to make whatever, what this is. This is okay. Cool. All right. We got a nice little stepping stone to begin from. Okay, how did this all start for you? Tell me, a little bit about your grandmother's house. Is it like tucked away in the woods? What's it like being there? Or what was it like being there, maybe?
Well, she lived in the country, kind of off the woods on a small farm. She went through this with my mom. My mom and her kids, there was 8 kids. My grandpa was a professional logger back in, I guess it'd be the 40s and 50s. And he was in Mexico a lot. So she was at home a lot with the kids. My uncle had been to Vietnam, and he had taken his girlfriend, which is now his wife. They would all go out with a bunch of friends, and they would do what they called spook hunting, right?
Okay.
So they would go out and try to get scared down in the bottoms. Mm-hmm. Well, one particular night they were down there, and these 2 lights appeared out in the field, and he said they wasn't sure what they was. And they sat there and they watched them, and the lights were moving toward them. And everybody said, we probably should leave. It was scaring everybody. So they start their cars up, and everybody's getting ready to leave. And something jumps out of the tree, lands on his car, and then runs off the front of the car and then off into the woods. Well, they all left, and he went straight to Granny's house, his mom's house. And that night, they said they heard something growling. Sound like a coffee pot percolating. It was scratching on the house. Pretty wild night. Then the next day he gets up, and his car, or whatever jumped on his car, the car is covered in fish scales. And he said it stunk really, really bad.
Wow.
And from that point on, there was just so many things that they experienced. My mom experienced what she called a werewolf there. She was a young girl. They had come back from buying groceries, and they had left her out in the Circle Drive asleep while they were carrying in the groceries. She woke up. She said she was going up the sidewalk, and to go into Granny's house, there was 2 large concrete steps that went up into an enclosed porch that then went into the front room. It was covered in plexiglass, that the front porch was. She said when she went to go up the steps, she looked to the right and down, and it raised its head up about that far above the steps. And she said it was a werewolf. She said, that's the only thing I know to call it. And whenever it done that, of course, it scared her really, really bad. And things escalated from that point. So we always figured whatever it was followed my uncle back that night. And it just, it got worse. It just continued to get worse.
Okay, yeah, that's like a classic story that you hear a lot of times where people are just out doing whatever. They could be, just in the woods fishing, see something,
right,
hear something, find something, get the hell out of there. And then when they come home, and then ever since that, from that point forward, like you were saying, they seem to have this recurring oddness happening to in and around their house, and there's a lot of people who have to get like a preacher out there or have to rebuke them. I've heard stories where people are getting their doors pounded on, sitting in their front chair with a shotgun, and it's just it does happen. It does happen. It's weird.
Sounds like Granny. She would she would babysit me and my cousin a lot because my mom and dad were always working, and I'd have to stay down there nights with her, and it was nothing for us to stay up all night. And she would sit on the couch. She would always sit on the couch. And she had a .32 semi-automatic pistol, and she had a butcher knife, and she kept both of those by her chair. And at nighttime, we had a routine, but this was new to me, but not new to her. Her and my mom, and then when they were kids, they had a routine that when the sun started to go down, everybody would come inside. They would lock the doors. They didn't put up they didn't put up regular blinds. They put up blankets over the windows so you couldn't see their shadows in the house. Whatever it
Okay.
was, yeah, it would come up to the house and scratch on the house. Well, I was staying with her one night, and we were sitting in there, and we heard like this knock at the front door, like somebody was, somebody showed up. And we knew at nighttime you didn't just open the door. So she walked over to the door. At the top of her door was a wooden door. It had one of those like diamond windows at the top.
Okay.
And she
Yeah.
pulled, the old door.
Yeah, sure.
So she looks out the door. She's like, there's nobody out there. So she shuts the thing she had hanging up there, and it knocks again. She goes back. She looks out. She doesn't see anything. She opened the door, and she looks out. And right above the door is the roof, so she's looking out. She doesn't see anybody. As soon as she shuts the door, it knocks. And she said, I'm not opening it this time. I'm going to call your uncle. So she calls my uncle, the one who was in Vietnam. He shows up. Of course, he's got his light and his gun and everything. And he comes up there, and he's looking around the house and everything. And he comes in the house, and he kind of like gets on to Granny. He's like, don't open that door when you hear that. And she's like, well, I thought it might have been you. And he's like, no, if it's me, I'll let you know. She goes, there's nothing out there. And he goes, oh, it's out there. And she said, what do you mean? And he said, come here and look. He took her to the front door, and on the front door at the very top, there looked like snot or something like that on the top of the door. And he told her, he said, what's happening is it's on top of the house, leaning over and knocking on the door. And when you open that door, it was right there above you, looking at you. And he's telling her,
And
yeah,
you're there
he's like,
you're hearing this?
yeah, I'm sitting in the front room, and I was like, oh my God, but there was so many things that happened down there that, dude, I shot something down there.
Okay.
And I don't know what it was.
Okay, walk me into
me
it.
and my cousin.
What happened? Tell me.
So getting older, right? I was probably 16 or 17.
Okay.
And me and my cousin, we decided, we thought we were Rambo back in the day, because I had a buddy that's dad was in the National Guard, and he was a sergeant, and he had all kinds of stuff. I think he was a staff sergeant or something, but he had uniforms and BDUs and boots and all kinds of fun gadgets. And we was always running around town in camo and ghillie suits, and was like, you know what? Let's go down there and catch this thing, right? So we told my mom. My granny had a stroke, and the girls were taking turns taking care of her. One would stay like 2 or 3 nights, and the other one would come, and they were all just taking turns. It always seemed to be after my mom the worst. And we didn't know if that was because she had the first encounter with it. She was the closest to it. Not real sure why, but the nights that she would stay, it was always the worst. And even if she'll go fishing, she'll have big encounters, like stuff will whistle at her and mess with her. But that night, we told Mom, we said, you go down there like you're alone and give off the illusion that you're going to be with Granny tonight alone, and we're going to stay home tonight. We only lived probably a half a mile down the road from Granny, and we said, we'll slip up in the darkness in our camo, and we're going to catch whatever this thing is. So we put our ghillie suits on and get all decked out, and the only gun I had at the time was a 410 that I'd had. It was a single shot Mossberg. My cousin had a 22 semi-automatic, and we were going to get this thing, right? So
very powerful.
We go down there. Oh yeah. We was heavily loaded.
Yeah, I got you, buddy.
So we go down there, and there's these oil tanks that set out there on a hill that overlooked Granny's house. And these old oil tanks, they had metal steps that went up them. You can get a pretty high, vantage point looking over the property. So we crawled up on those, and we're laying there. And when you're looking down at Granny's house, there's trees all around her house. She has a circle driveway with a yard light, and the yard light would shine down through the elm trees, which they would use for shade. And you could see silhouettes. You could see pretty good in the yard. It wasn't real well lit. So we're laying there and we're watching, not really knowing if we're going to see anything. And me and my cousin's there, and the next thing I know, there it goes. Something walks around the back of the house. And I'm like, dude, did you just see that? And he's like, there's somebody down there. We're thinking somebody.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. So then we hear the banging on the house, like what we would hear when we was in the house. So we knew whatever it was trying to scare Mom. It was doing its thing. So we're like, let's sneak down there and get it. So we crawl down off the tanks. We're going to cross the field down toward the house. We get right to the back of the house where we seen it go around the back corner of the house. It takes off running. And it ran down into Grandpa's hog pasture. Grandpa had raised hogs also. It ran down on the hog pasture. And this time there was no hogs, but the hog pasture is full of sandstones, a lot of rock, and there's a pond that sits down at the lower end of it. And this pond had dried up at the time, and it was full of cattails.
Okay.
Whatever this was, it ran down into those cattails. Well, we decided to go in after it. So we go into the cattails. You can't see. You're pushing the cattails, and right where the pond, if the pond got too full, Grandpa had like a little creek he had cut off of it where it would drain back down into the bigger pond.
Okay.
And there was a piece of tin. Yeah, and there was a piece of tin Grandpa threw over that. So when the water was there, it was muddy. You could walk across that tin to get to the other side of the pond. So you didn't have to walk in the little creek. We were right there at that area. Couldn't see anything. And then all of a sudden, I start hearing heavy breathing. And it kind of sounded like a gargling noise, kind of like a heavy breathing, but there was sound like a lot of liquid in the throat, almost like an aspiration. And I'm listening to it, and I look at my cousin, and I'm like, it's still in here. And at that time, whatever it was, it stepped out in front of me in the dark. And it wasn't like what everybody says. It wasn't huge. It wasn't this monstrous creature. It was probably my height. Nothing super big. I'm 5'10", 5'11". Nothing super big. The only thing I noticed was the shoulders. It was really thick, really broad, like abnormally broad. It was really big. And when it stepped out, I shot it with the 410, point blank, boom, shot it. When I shot it, my cousin opened up on it with his 22, and it fell. It fell straight on the tin, just right on that tin, just boom. And I thought, damn, we killed it, you know? And it was like, wow. So I'm reloading. He's dropping bullets in. It stands up. And it takes off running. And Grandpa had up from where we was at, just up the way a little ways, probably 50 yards, was a chicken house. And the chicken house was probably 10 foot, 11 foot tall. A pretty good sized chicken house. It ran up behind the chicken house. Well, because we had shot, my mom had heard the gunshots inside the house. She had an old LTD car. She starts the car and she drives it around the side of the house and shines the headlights toward the chicken house. Whatever it is, I knew I got it good because when I looked down on the ground, there was a lot of blood. And the blood looked like an arterial bleed. And I'm sure you know what that looks like when you,
bright
know
red,
that dark.
bright red.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, arterial, artery.
Yeah, it was like that dark purple, looked like real thick jelly looking. I mean, it was, you could tell, you know, like when you hit a deer in the liver, you could tell.
Was it bird shot or was it bird shot or what were you loaded in? What you have in the 410?
It was bird shot.
Bird shot, okay.
But probably shot it from 2 foot away.
Oh my God, dude. And so what is it? Was it really dark out or what did you see? What did you say you see shoulders? What did it have a big head?
Just the silhouette. Didn't look like there was a neck. It looked like a big muscular guy, kind of like, The Rock. I mean, this thing was wide.
Like Bautista or
And
something.
yeah, and I hip shot it. I didn't have time to put the rifle up or the shotgun.
Yeah.
I just hip shot it. It stepped out in front of me and I shot it. Boom.
Right.
And it fell. And so I knew that it had to hurt it. And then after we got the car shining the lights down there, because we didn't have flashlight, we were running around with what we could see from the yard light. And whenever the car was shining the lights, I told my cousin, I was like, dude, check it out. That blood. I mean, I'd hunted all my life, and I knew that when you hit an animal, you get either that, man, that was a bad shot. That's it's probably, but when you get that arterial blood, you know that it's a terminal hit.
Okay.
And I was positive whatever I hit, it was dying. And I reloaded. It ran up behind the chicken house. We got the car lights are shining down on us. Of course, my mom, we're young. We're wanting to go up behind the chicken house and finish off what we shot. She's yelling at us, telling us to get our butts up there, and we're like, it's behind the chicken house. And she's like, get your ass up here. We called your dad. We called your uncle, It starts growling. And it starts running its fingernails down the back of the tin of the chicken house. So my dad showed up and my uncle showed up. My dad was a big guy. My dad in his boots, he was 6'8". And weighed about 300. Yeah, he weighed 350 pounds. He wore a size 16.5 wedding ring. Big oil field worker guy.
Oh my God.
So my dad shows up, my uncle shows up, and we got the lights on the chicken house, and it runs from behind the chicken house. But the weird thing was the chicken house, I'm going to say, and I wish I could go down there and measure it now that I'm older. I would say it's 10 foot. We'll say 10 foot just to be within the. My uncle says my dad's name was Stormy. And my uncle goes, hey, Storm, look at that. And they looked. Whatever it was that was running away from that chicken house, it was about a head's height above that. And it was running. There was an old pond back further than the pond I was at, probably 500 yards back over in the back part of the field, and it was running toward that, but it had something over its back, and you could see it flopping when it ran over its back. And my uncle, I remember he looked at my dad and he said, because my uncle grew up in it too, he said, damn, it grabbed a bag of that corn, because Grandpa still had some corn out there where he fed the hogs and the old gunny sacks, not the paper bags. Now we had the old gunny sacks. And they said, man, it grabbed a bag of corn. Well, the next day, my uncle shows up at my granny's house and he walks in there. And of course, I'm sitting in there with her. He says, I went home last night and I got to thinking, whatever that was, there was probably two. And your mom probably saved your ass.
Right.
And I said, do what? And he's like, you shot a juvenile. And he said, it ran up behind that chicken house where its mom or daddy was. And if you would have followed it up there, he said, it probably would have been real bad, because he got to thinking about it. And he said, that wasn't corn over its back. It was carrying the one you shot.
Exactly what I was thinking.
And I was like,
my brain started going. So me and your dad are on the same page. Thank God for your mom, dude. Holy crap.
But it got worse. It got worse after that, though.
Okay.
So I guess because I heard it, or we had heard it, the whole time my mom and them growing up, the whole time me growing up down there, it had never hurt the livestock or anything. Now, it did attempt to get my cousin one time, but it never did hurt the livestock or anything. That next night, after we had shot whatever it was, we're in the house, and Granny was sitting there. We were eating, and she had one of those tall ashtrays. Those, I can't remember what they're, the tall orange ashtray.
Yeah, dude. Wow.
Oh yeah, yeah. She had that. Oh yeah, that was her coffee cup holder, and that held her bowl in the morning. For breakfast, they would set it on the ashtray. So we're all sitting in there eating, and it's dark time, and we're eating. and then the back door, you hear it rattle. And we're like, it's trying the doors again. And every time it tried the doors, I cried many times down there. I'm not going to lie. As a young kid, I cried. And my cousin would cry. A lot of us cried, a lot of us would cry. And we were sitting down there, and it started rattling that door. And you could hear it like it was testing the door. It'd push on it, like just kind of push on it. And the bathroom was right there by that back door. And I'll tell you that story here in a minute. But all of a sudden, it sounded like it started trying to chop the door down. It was just boom, boom, boom. And we'd never had it do that before. I actually thought it was fixing to come inside. I really did. And
yeah,
I remember just being terrorized. And I remember the fear of hearing that boom. And, you're afraid that door is going to open. And if that door opens, it's like, what am I going to see?
Yeah.
Luckily, it didn't. We all stayed in the front room, huddled up in the corner like we always did with Granny and her pistol and her butcher knife. And we were sitting there. So the next day, the sun comes up, and we would get up pretty early. We was on a farm. So me and my cousin went outside, and we would always go let the chickens out. So we were like, let's check the back door and see what the back door looks like. So we go to the back door, and when we get to the back door is covered in blood. The whole back of the house is covered in blood by the back door. Just blood and feathers. Whatever it was had grabbed one of Grandpa's roosters and had beat that rooster to death against the back of that house. That's what it was using. There was feathers and blood all over the back of that house. And then
it's kind of a warning, like you heard something from me, I'm going to take something from you, kind of thing.
Yeah. Whoa. And it cut one of the pigs, one of his sows. It cut one of their heads off and stuck it on the fence post. So
what do you mean cut off?
Like the head was removed,
serrated, it was ripped?
No, it was just like you took a saw and just
and threw it on a fence post.
Stuck it on there, right where we had a loading ramp where we backed the truck up to load them into the truck to take them to the cell.
Yeah,
right there, it just bonk, put it on there. Yeah,
that's fucking crazy, dude. Do you still go there? I mean, doing your investigations, what you do now? What do you do now? We'll get back to the stories. I just want to know the connection with now.
Well, that's the weird thing is my granny passed away, and it's been several years. And when she passed away, it just goes into it was another weird thing happened. So it wasn't just werewolf down there, right? It wasn't just this werewolf looking thing. There was many different things happen there. Some unexplainable. Some were what you would call, or flesh and blood. Us kids went through hell, dude. So we called the sheriff's department numerous times, and because it would get bad. But see, she passed away, and when she passed away, I got the house for a while. I was going to stay in the house. I was going to buy the house, and my cousin was helping me. And back then, we didn't have cell phones. I couldn't afford a cell phone. They were new.
It was around 2000 then. Okay.
It was right where everybody had them, and I think it cost you like 50 cents a text, to even send a text.
Oh yeah, you talking about those old those Motorola or Nicola or whatever they were called? Yeah, I had one of those too.
Oh yeah, I had the old Nokia or whatever it was.
Yeah, the Nokia.
Yeah, Nicola. I think that's what I had. Yeah.
All right.
So I decided, since it was Granny's house, I was like, I'm going to paint it and make it more mine because of the memories. So it was, it was a sad feeling in there. So we're in the bedroom, me and my cousin. It's probably, I don't know, 1 a.m, something like that. We had the old wooden windows. We had the old wooden windows up. We're in there painting, and we're talking and we're painting. And the old paintbrush, it had the sponge on it. That had the little wheel on it. You could go around the door facings and stuff with.
Oh yeah. I've used
Okay.
one recently.
All right. Yeah, he was using that, and I'm doing the rolling. So I have my back to him. He's doing the windows, and he goes, "Hey, dude, will you hand me that other one?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Just 1 second. Let me finish rolling this right here." And he goes, "Thanks." And I said, "Thanks for what?" And he's painting with it. I said, "Dude, you got that right?" He's like, "No, you handed it to me." I said, "I didn't hand that to you." And he's like, "Are you serious?" I said, "I swear to God, dude." I said, "I didn't hand that to you." I had a P90 45 I had bought, and I had an SKS that I had at the house with us that night. And I told him, I said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "I'm positive, dude." He said, "You handed it to me." I said, let's wrap it up. We'll come back tomorrow. So I pulled the window down. The window had those little half moon locks on the top. You remember you'd turn and lock the windows,
Oh, yeah,
the little wooden
yes.
windows.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I locked that.
So the
He
window
locks
was
his.
open. So the window was open.
Yeah. Yeah, we had
Okay,
the windows
okay.
up because of the paint,
Okay, yeah, okay.
So
I'm just trying to
I'm
piece it
guessing
in my head here.
whatever it was, I guess whatever it was reached in that window, grabbed that paintbrush and handed it to him out of the paint bucket. So I'm like, let's just call it off. Let's go home tonight. There's no landline down there. We got no phone. We're just trying to fix the old house up to move into. I shut the window. He shuts his window. I lock it. He locks it. I turn around. We start walking to the doorway. Granny didn't have doors on her doors. For some reason, there was no doors, just the outside doors. The rest of the doors in the house were just open,
Oh,
door facing.
yeah. Older people did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just opened house. So
yeah, no closed doors in my house.
oh no, I wasn't allowed to either growing up, and I damn sure couldn't have a lock on my bedroom door. That was a no-no.
No.
Yeah. So I get almost to the door, and I hear this on the window. I turn around, dude, and I couldn't tell you to this day what it is. It was, I don't even know an animal it would resemble. From the bottom of the ground outside to the second pane of that window is where its face was. 8-9 foot probably. It was looking through the window at us. It had two eyes on top of, almost like on top of its nose, that were almost touching each other. Really big eyes. A nose that came out and hung down, and it was swinging. The nose was like swinging. The top mouth right here, it had teeth. They weren't like canine. Yeah, they were square, like square teeth that went plumb around. But their bottom jaw, was way back here. It was recessed, and it was opening and shut. It reminded me of a crawdad. You know how that little mouthful, like a V looking thing. It was doing that, and the nose was swinging, and it knocks on the window again, and it was red. It was a red, furry red hair. And dude, we ran to the front room. We got in a corner. I grabbed my pistol. He grabbed my rifle. We sat there in that corner, and just why are we even down here at night? We knew better. And then it starts knocking on the front door. And I said, "Oh my God!" We thought it was going to get us. So we're pointing our guns at the door, and I'm like, "You know what? I own the house at that time." I was like, "I own this house." So I shot the 45 through the door. I put a hole through that door. I ripped one right through there. And whenever I did, it stopped. And the back door started. It started messing with the back door.
Oh shit!
So we knew that. Yeah, so we knew that it had went to the back door. Man, we ran out that front door, down that sidewalk. We jumped in the truck. We were gone. But after Granny died, my aunt ended up moving in down there. And to this day, my cousin lives there by herself, and it's not there anymore. It left. When my granny died and the girl stopped going down there, it just left.
Yeah, there's some kind of weird connection. There's some kind of weird connection to get with that person. There's an asphyxiation sometimes. or they're open to suggestion or whatever it may be that happened that initial day when they seen the two lights coming across the field and it landed on the hood. So it connected with that family group. And then when they kind of dispersed, it dispersed. That is I've never heard your description. It reminded me of this band, Ange de Poitrine. They're from Quebec, and there's the drummer. He has this big like head on top of him with this swinging nose, or like the dude from SpongeBob SquarePants, what is Squidward, whatever his name is. Kind of reminded me of that.
Oh yeah,
sense. Yeah. It's just I've never heard anything like that before. I've heard some other strange things, but nothing like that. That sounds like a Muppet.
There was a lot of things happened through not just all at once, but throughout the years. For instance, there was this guy that grew up with my mom and them, and he was the big football player of the town. He'd kick your ass if you messed with him, the bad boy. Nobody messed with him because he was just a badass.
Okay. So
he told my granny, "I'll get rid of that for you. It's just an old pervert down there looking at the girls. I'll come down there. I'll take care of whatever it is, right? He wasn't scared. And when I catch them, they won't do it again. That kind of attitude. So Mom said he came down. He's sitting on the couch, 8:30 every night. At 8:30 is when it would start. Mom said right on the clock, 8:30. So he's sitting there on the couch. Sure enough, 8:30, boom, 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 starts beating on the back door. He jumps up off the couch, runs out the back door, runs around the side of the house. He's going to go back there and take care of whatever this is. They said it wasn't long. He come walking back in that front door, and they said his face was as white as his shirt. And they said he fell on the couch, almost passed out. Granny had to get him a wet washcloth. The dude was shaking and sweating. And they were asking him, "Are you okay? What did you see? Are you okay?" He wouldn't tell them. So when I started my channel, I got a hold of him.
Okay.
And I said, would you by chance tell me what you saw? He wouldn't want to talk about it. He ended up getting sick. And it was around COVID time. And he passed away from COVID. But he sent me a letter, dude. And I read the letter on my channel.
Like a post-mortem kind of letter kind of thing.
He told me what it was, what he saw. Yeah. He said that night, I jumped up and I ran around there expecting to see a man standing at the back of the house. He said, when I came around the back of that house, see, my granny, when Grandpa was gone, he told her, don't go outside in the dark. Dump your scraps out the back door. And he put an old, them old long steel hog troughs?
Yeah.
We have one of them back there, and that's what she would pour the scraps in at night so she didn't have to go outside. He always worried about her. Well, he said, when I came around the side of that house, he said, there it stood, Mike. He says a werewolf. He said it was standing on its hind legs. He said it was kind of sideways, and he said it was grabbing the food, the scraps, out of that hog trough, and he said it was shoving it in the side of its mouth, and not in the front, but shoving it in the side of its mouth. And he said the food was running down its fur and everything. And he said when I came around the corner, it knelt its head sideways, he said, like that, kind of smiled, and he said it went, hello. And he said, I ran for your granny's front door as hard as I could run. The dude never fished or hunted again and moved to the city. And he said it changed his life. He wouldn't even talk about it. He said that wasn't.
When I explain to people, when I try to explain to people, because, I live in Mexico, I've lived in Europe for 20 years. I try to explain to people, like people, especially in Germany, that's where I live. They're no nonsense people, right? And I try to explain to them, like, I have students and I tell them what I do, my show, and I explain to them. And I don't believe in that kind of stuff. And I'm saying, what you don't understand is our culture is that we're big into outdoor stuff, fishing, hunting. There's people who do this their whole life. One day they're 40, they're out there, they see something like this, and they never go back again. How do you explain that? And they essentially can't do it. And then I try to use your right brain, Mr. German. How does that work when there's, say, 1,000 reports a year? What's the probability of none of them being accurate? Everyone's lying. He saw that, dude. He saw that. That is what did it say again? I'm sorry. I was.
It said hello. It went hello. But dude, these things down there, they would speak. I heard them speak. No shit. I've heard them speak. They don't talk. Okay, so. They don't have conversation. I never heard them say more than one word at a time. Normally, it was a name. So before I was born, Granny was sitting on her couch one night. Didn't have air conditioner, right? We couldn't afford those. So it was windows up, doors open. She had the front room door open. The front room door went out onto the porch. She had the plexiglass door to the porch open. The porch was 2 steps down. You had a long sidewalk underneath the elm trees that went out to the circle driveway underneath the old pipe walkway, right? Mm-hmm. So she's sitting there one night drinking her coffee. She drank probably 9 pots of coffee a day. But she's sitting there drinking her coffee, and it steps out on the sidewalk. It's now looking at her right there.
Through the,
through the sidewalk, through the doors, and she's sitting on the couch. Her name was Helen. It sticks its hand out, and it's got long claws, and it starts going, Helen. Doing that, telling her, come here. She got up, locked up the house, scared her really bad. She called her son. He went down there. Didn't see anything, of course. But moving up to my age, to where I was staying with my mom when she'd had her stroke, my mom said, why don't you sleep where I sleep, and I'll sleep in the front room tonight? And I was like, okay. So I laid where Mom would normally be laying that night. And in the window, we'd stepped up a little bit in class. We had got a water cooler, not an air conditioner, but a water cooler, you know. So we had the old water cooler in the window, and we wasn't running it that night. It was off. But it was old, and when you're laying there in the bed, you can see the yard light around the water cooler, you know, the light around it, and kind of like through it. So I'm laying there, and all of a sudden, the light goes dark.
Right.
I'm like, something's at the window. So I'm listening. My mom's name is Kay. I'm laying there, and I hear it go, Kay, through the window, through that water cooler. Kay. I start saying my mom's name. So I got up. I had a 30-30 then. I grabbed my 30-30, cocked it, told my mom what was going on. She's like, okay, just calm down, be quiet. That was the thing, was to be quiet. At nighttime, you weren't loud. You didn't make a lot of noise. We just knew because it would follow you from room to room. So we were quiet. I lay back down. Granny had a brass bell, and I have the lamp right here. We kept the lamp. She had a lamp beside her bed that it was a touch lamp. You could touch it, and it was bright. Brighter. Yeah. Okay, so she had that.
The fancy stuff back then, man.
Oh yeah. We was living it up then. Yeah, and then she had the brass bell, and she would ring that bell when she needed us, because one side of her body was paralyzed from the stroke. So she would ring it, and we would go see what she wanted. So we're laying in bed after that had happened, and we hear, ding, 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 Granny ringing her bell. I get up in my bedroom. My bedroom has a doorway that goes into her bedroom. My mom's in the front room, and there's another doorway that goes into Granny's bedroom. There's 2 ways in there. Yeah. So I go halfway just to make sure she's okay. Mom walks into her room. Mom walks out. She goes, she must have fell back asleep. So we laid back down. Ding, 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 ding. We get up. Granny's still asleep. We noticed that the window wasn't closed all the way with the blanket. Whatever it was ringing like a bell to get my mom to walk past that window where it could see her. It was watching her through that window.
There's like some spooky paranormal aspects to this whole situation. Like how I'd imagine they would know your names because you call each other by names in the house. Hey, Kay, come here, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like it's feeding upon your fears, and it's like cornering you into your own house and making you change your life, to fit around your fears. It's feeding off your fear. It's like that. This reminds me, I gotta think. I don't know what I'm gonna call this. Is this Oklahoma too? All this Oklahoma?
Yeah, all Oklahoma.
It sounds like something you would hear from like the Enville Horror or something like that. But with cryptids, it's so crazy.
It still rings a bell at me when I go out in the woods in my investigations. I've heard that bell ring down there.
So what do you do in your investigations? Tell me a little bit about what you do.
I go out at night and I go down to these areas and I walk and I do calls and stuff and try to call in things. This area, I just done a show about a week ago. I done some digging. Anthropologists actually came down here and said that there was something in these woods.
Anthropologists, okay.
There's these woods have always been, I guess, haunted.
So you're down the road now from where this is? You live close by?
Yeah. I'm actually investigating. See, back when all that was happening, that was they flooded the old town underneath the lake. The old town's under the lake. And the new town was moved up. Everything's underwater now, the old town, right? So all the old bridges and stuff, my grandma lived down there. They moved her house from there to the new town. And I have the old map of the old town. They had stuff happen down there back then. It's all Corps of Engineer land.
Oh, shit. This is reminding me of like the LBL, man.
Well, it's Native American history is very heavy.
Okay.
The payment grounds, we had the payment grounds down there. The United States Cavalry used to trade with the Indians. I have found arrowheads, silver snuff holders that are stamped United States Cavalry. I found, I got a quarter over here that was a quarter before Washington was president. A lot of history down in here. A lot of Native American history. We have mile markers on our highway that mark the Indian territory, first Indian chief, and all that. I mean, a lot of history.
So this is the Creek Indians down that way, down this area?
Delaware and Cherokee.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
So
I'm Cherokee.
This is the Cherokee after they moved from Western North Carolina, so that area.
Yeah, after the Trail of Tears and all, whenever they moved them down through Oklahoma. Yeah,
you're Cherokee Indian. That's cool. Listen, my girlfriend is Mayan.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, my great grandpa.
Mayan.
My great grandpa was full blood
Mayan.
My great Cherokee, full blood Cherokee.
Okay.
Yeah, he spoke fluent Cherokee.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, he was full blood.
Yeah.
And we got all the stories, but I'll tell you, they say, and as long as I've been researching now, I'm kind of finding it to be true. They say that people that have a cryptid encounter, 25% of those people will have a supernatural encounter, approximately. Now, I'm friends with Travis Carpenter, Scott Carpenter's son. I'm really good friends.
Scott Carpenter. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I'm really good friends. Scott Carpenter had we kind of done the same thing, had the same belief, the Nephilim theory of the. So I always kind of contributed it to if they were Nephilim and there were demons, then there would be an interaction of supernatural and physical because they would still be the same lineage. They would be family.
Right.
And down at Granny's, they shot at a man in a white T-shirt that would float through their pasture. My uncle shot at it with a 30-06 several times, and they could not hit it. Could not hit him. He would just float through the pasture. There was a lot of things that happened that were unexplainable. Like one night, this one scares me probably from the stories more than any of them that my mom and them told me. So my granny would go to bed at night. You would go into her bedroom, and then there was 3 bedrooms. You had her bedroom, like her bedroom here. Then there was a bedroom here, and then there was a smaller bedroom in the very back of the house. Excuse me. That's where my uncle would stay. The house had burnt. So his back bedroom was a lower roof than the rest of the house. It was probably a 6-foot roof where they'd like added on.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he had his own little corner back there, you know.
Uh-huh.
And inside of the house, he had a door. And this door would close to his room because he was the boy, and the little, you know, the youngest little boy. He used to give me hell, but he was in his 20s then. But his door, he would shut it, and it had the little square glass panes in it. There was 9 of them. 3, 3, 3. There was 9. And he had the old time lock. It looked like the old egg thing you'd turn, you know, and it had the big lock, like the claw that would lock.
Yes.
On the door. And you could lock it from,
you're very good at
from the outside.
Your descriptions are awesome.
I just remember all this because it scared the hell out of me. You know, it's like,
dude. Oh, yeah. I've had paranormal experiences too. At 8, I had a poltergeist encounter. So that's why I'm into it. Yeah, yeah. That scared the hell. I had a door slam in my face. Things touched me. I bought 10 acres out here in the jungle here in Mexico. I've had disembodied voices, glowing lights, things whispering in my ears at night. So I've had some things here too. And luckily I'm older and doing this now. My people with much more scary experiences make me kind of go, okay, I know what this is. But when you're young like that, like you're saying, you remember every little detail.
Oh yeah, because when we would walk through the house, part of our job, maybe not a job, but just part of what we'd done, is I knew to look at the window, make sure it's locked, make sure I could see those claws in there, you know, to make sure it was locked, because that was our safety between the outside. And before I was born, my granny had went to sleep. My grandpa was in Mexico working.
Right.
She slept with the 2 youngest girls. They would sleep with her. Then you had the older girls in the middle bedroom, and then her son at the time, he was in the back bedroom with the door I told you about. So my aunt wakes up. She looks at the doorway. Whatever this thing is standing in the doorway watching them sleep. So instead of waking Granny up, my aunt said, I covered up my head because I was scared. So she covers up her head, and she's laying there. Then she uncovers her head a little bit later to look, and it's standing over the bed looking at him.
The house.
In the house. Standing over the bed, looking at him. She covers her head back up. Instead of she said she was just pure panic.
Oh yeah, every kid, everybody does that. It's like that sheet. I don't see you. You're not there. I feel safer.
Right.
It's completely natural. Yeah, man. Mm-hmm.
Right. And it walks around the end of the bed, and there's no doors up. Walks around the end of the bed, gets to the bottom of the bed to walk into where the other girls are at. And as it's walking into there, it takes its fingernails and rubs them across the bottom of her feet as it walks into the other bedroom.
What did she describe this thing as being?
She said whatever it was that was standing there was very skinny. And she said it looked like it had a really long pointed nose is all she could tell.
Uh-huh.
And the next morning, when everybody woke up, she told them, what had happened. And Granny was like, "Are you sure you wasn't dreaming?" And she said, "No, no, Mom, it was in the house. It touched me. It touched the bottom of my foot. It had long fingernails." Well, I don't think Granny believed her at first until that night
God.
they were sitting in the bedroom floor at the foot of the bed, and they kept games under the bed like Monopoly and all those chess and all that. They would keep them under the bed. They had pulled the game out and they were playing Monopoly, she said. And they hear like this glass sound, like this. And they look down through the center bedroom to where his room's at, to those little square windows. And there's that thing looking through the square window waving at them. Granny saw it. They saw it. They started screaming. Granny ran, locked the door. Come to find out, they found out how that thing was getting in. My uncle was smoking in his bedroom, and he had left his window open. So whatever it was had found out that he'd left his window open, and it was coming through his window at night, walking around the inside of the house while they was all asleep.
You need to put this all in a book. You need to put this in a book, bro. I don't know what you're going to tell this, but it's like it's like the Amityville Horror House, but like together with cryptids, and they're like just constantly effing with you. You're like just constantly.
Oh,
and like I'd imagine like you have some level of like PTSD because of this. I mean, you've seen some of this stuff.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of it.
I mean, like it's the mere fact that you have 1-2 foot in front of you and you hit it with a single shot there. Like how have you been able to deal with this? Like by doing what you're doing? I imagine being in law enforcement helps you. You got your nice little SOP and your all the things you. I loved how you said BDU, which makes me know that what time periods you're around my age, battle dress uniforms. I was like, all right, okay, I know what he's talking about.
Right.
Like, how do you deal with this? Did you like just talking with your family? Were you guys opened up and talked with each other, or what did you do?
Yeah, very open. We talked about it all the time. But number one, I put God first. Yeah. I believe that they are from the enemy, and I believe that as long as I keep the blood of Christ on me, his armor on me, that it gives me a protection. But I also believe, and I think Scott Carpenter touched on this, and I agree with him also, is I think we have a protection to a point. And it's kind of like, a parent will protect you, but if you do something wrong, a parent will also punish you. They'll spank your butt. And, the Bible says, do not tempt the Lord thy God. And when we go out into the woods or houses or whatever people do, and we seek these things out, it's kind of like, you stick your hand on a fire and it burns you, it burns you. So if you do it again, it's going to burn you again. I think that these things have an MO, a method of operation. I learned that in investigation.
Yeah.
And I think that, they're an opportunist. And the reason I say opportunist, a lot of these unattended deaths that we find in the woods, for instance, I'll tell you a story that just doesn't add up.
Unattended.
There was unattended deaths, like a death.
Death. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like an unattended death. So there was these guys. This is a true story. They decided to go fishing. People die on my lake every year. People die down here in my woods every year. They went down there to go fishing, and they didn't come home. So the wife calls. She's scared. My husband didn't come home. Kids with them, and there's another guy. So they call for a search party. The fire department goes down. My buddy's on the search and rescue. They go down. Me and my cousin volunteered at the time. We went down, and we started building fires along the bank bonfires so they could see to come to the fire. And my buddy ended up finding the two guys. Now, remember, I told you the lake was a town that's underwater now.
Okay, this
They
lake.
didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. So they didn't really move anything out of there. There's all the trees are out there in the lake. You got oil filled pipes just under the water level. If you don't know your way around out there, you don't go out there. My uncle had showed me everywhere how to traverse the lake. My other uncle, you'll be familiar with this. He's a Navy SEAL. He always was teaching me survival and how to read the stars and how to filter water. And he was always just putting it in mind of my cousin's head all the time, And and my other uncle that was in the Vietnam, he was a ranger. So you can see kind of the raising I had. I was with them.
Oh yeah, you're good to go, buddy.
I was with them all. I was with them all the time. They always had us in the woods, and they'd scare us, and I got waterboarded and everything. But
no shit.
Anyways, we went down there. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was tortured. I was yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, because they were ornery. Yeah, we paid the price many times. Bottle rocket wars and everything. I've got scars. But yeah. Oh yeah. They were fun. They were crazy. So we went down and my buddy finds the two guys. The two guys are out in the middle of the lake. And they climbed up these old dead trees in the middle of this dark lake. National Guard came in and they plucked them out of the trees. They ended up finding the two little boys. But here's the weird thing. The two little boys were 100 yards off the water, stuck underneath a fallen tree with debris and branches put over them.
And they were deceased?
Yep.
And what's the story? What did these two gentlemen say?
They said they drowned. My buddy didn't buy it at all.
They were possessed, man, or something. They did that shit.
Yeah. How do you drown 100 feet from the water, 100 yards from the water,
and then get stuff put on you?
Yeah, crawl underneath a log and pull stuff on top of you. That doesn't happen.
Like, this might be like the most scariest place in all of America where you're living here, man. What are you? You need to expose this. This is crazy.
Oh, there's a lot of cult down here. The cult's heavy.
The occult, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Has always been heavy. A buddy of mine, there's an island down here where they practice all the time, and he went down there just to go catfishing during the daytime, and all of a sudden, man, he said, "Pow!" Something hits him in the back of the head, and he's got blood running all down the front of him. Somebody shot him in the back of the head with a .22 while he was fishing.
What the?
Yeah, he survived it. He drove to a neighbor's house up the road, and they, got him help. But yeah, the inside of his truck was soaked in blood. They shot him in the back of the head with a .22. It's always been a bad place down in there. We actually have a report where the sheriff of our county and the undersheriff done an actual report. It's a posted report that they shot at Sasquatch in the second story of a barn. They said he jumped out of the barn. They're shooting at him with their 357s.
What the hell, dude? Don't tell me the name of the town. Definitely don't tell me. You can tell me off camera here, but I got to just look that up just so I know if I do ever do a road trip there to make a big fucking detour.
Yeah, because I mean, and that's what a lot of people say. They're like, tell me exactly, but you can't tell people because if you do,
it's going to be
people flood it. They'll go down there and flood it, and they'll be trash. They'll trash it.
Right, and ruin the town. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll send you some stuff I found on my videos. The other night, I don't know what it was. Something followed me, and everybody said it was a crawler. And you can see it on camera ducking behind a tree. I've been stalked by a mountain lion down here. I had a mountain lion stalk me out there one night.
They have those out there in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
I didn't. Yeah. I don't know. shit, the closest I've been to there, I was maybe 20 miles away in Kansas when I was doing funeral detail. That's
Oh
the
yeah.
closest I've ever. Yeah, I used to do funeral detail back in the military with the folding of the flag and all
Oh
that shit
wow.
down there. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we got
we all.
alligators here now too.
Oh, we got crocodiles here, bro. We got
Oh
crocodiles.
wow.
Oh yeah, dude. That's a whole. I got dude on my property. Jaguars. They come from the northern part on the coast here. I live on the Yucatan Peninsula, so they come from the coast.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they come around the back of the city, and they come right through my property on their way to the big nature reserve in the south. So I've seen footprints. I got pythons on my property. I got tarantulas, all kind of snakes and coral snakes and all. This place is crazy. And there's a lot. I hate them too. There's a lot of spookiness down here where I live. It's a very spooky, like the combination of like Catholicism mixed with old Mayan, where you get like that Dios de los Muertos stuff and like the dead, and they take them out and to clean the bones. There's nothing down here to see a skull. It's very. Oh yeah, they got altars. Every house has an altar in it with like the family members with the crosses and they put like around. Well, but actually, it's really weird. Two different cultures separated by time, where you have the 31st of October is Halloween, and then Dia de los Muertos is 2 days, actually, the 1st and 2nd of November. And they just go right hand in hand with each other. And it's all in the same time period. It's one of those places down here, too. I've been to pyramids that are like off the map, that are like, you go there and you're just like, okay, this is weird. It feels weird here. I found possibly circles in the woods where like it's an old lookout point where like they look down the valleys left and right. I'm thinking it's what it is. You can't walk through the woods here without running across some type of ruins. I got some Mayan pottery right here that I found when I was doing some solar panel building out on the property, out on the cattle ranch. This is actual pottery that I found underneath the solar. This is actual Mayan pottery. So this is one of those places, whatever this podcast decides to take off and people go ahead and like and subscribe, then I can, go ahead. I really want to do is like go out into the communities, learn Mayan, because I speak 3 languages, a German, a Spanish, and English. I just want to learn that one little thing and then just go do that and talk to the people and really get their stories. Just like the Cherokee have and the Navajo have, the Aztec and the Mayans have those old world spooky things. And it seems that the town or wherever it is that you are, somewhere's in Oklahoma, big state, good enough. I'm assuming not on the Panhandle. That's good. The big square. It's crazy. So with your channel, you just go around investigating, looking at it through like a law enforcement's point of view. Are you able to like maybe cut out some of the there's a lot of sensationalization where people, I've seen a portal and stuff. Yeah. So what do you do? How do you go about your investigations?
So one of the reasons I think that I grew so fast, and also it's been a hinder also, and I've been attacked plenty for the way I do things. And, just my opinion is we have, I'm not going to say names, but we have names in this genre that control the narrative.
Yeah.
I am and this was taught to me in school, I'm evidence-based. When you're an investigator, you have to have tangible evidence to support an idea. So whenever you plead a case to a judge, you can't say, well, he told me this happened and I put it down as fact. Mm-hmm. Right. He's going to say, what do you have to corroborate that? Or, what tangible evidence do you have? What can I see, touch, smell? What can I prove? And a lot of the stuff opinion, allegedly in this field, in my opinion, is people are monetarily invested in stories.
Yeah.
I don't care about the stories. I care about the facts. Because I'm looking for answers, you know. If somebody's there's nothing wrong with entertainment. I love entertainment, but I don't want the entertainment. I want to know, what are these? Why do they do what they do? Why did they put us through hell? Why do they still put us through hell? Why are they still here? And then what I base my work off of is they teach you in school, because a lot of people don't know this. To be an investigator, you're not promoted there. You are offered the position, and then you have to go to school and be able to achieve that rank.
Okay.
And whenever I did that, I was the youngest captain they'd ever hired. I was a gold captain. I was the youngest that had ever achieved that level. I took every free course they had, dude. If it was free, I took it. But I look at the Bible as my reference point. That is my concrete. That's where I start from. And I get to thinking, if these creatures are in fact the fallen angels' blood, and I throw if a lot, and if they are, then they hate us. We were the biggest slap in their face. I mean, you know, they walked in the glory of God. They knew God. They were there. And here we are, these little humans that sin and fall short of the glory of God every day, and God just forgives us and forgives us and forgives us, and they have no hope. So they don't like us, and you know, that's the biggest slap in their face. I've seen a demon, dude. I've seen it. I know they're there. 100%. Absolutely. That's what got me saved. That's how I found Jesus Christ.
What do you mean?
I saw a demon.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Okay.
I am a man of God. Just to give you a little background, I'm a man of God for sure, but I'm not Christian. Okay, that may be uncomfortable for some people. And my girl, she's my woman. She's Christian. She's staunch Catholic. And she knows where I come from. I said, if I don't carry the moniker of that, do I still do the same things that a Christian person would do? She says, you absolutely do. And a matter of fact, you do it even more. You just, for some reason, that's not your thing. I go, I have my reasons, right? So that we understand each other. I love listening to your point of view. It's important. Oh, yeah. But what about this demon? How do you, what did you see?
Okay. So 2 things that proved to me that God was real.
Oh yeah. God's real.
You know, very tangible person. I was an investigator. I was taught to question everything.
Yes, sir.
So I get a phone call about 18 years old. I decided all my life I was going into law enforcement. I knew that was going to be my road. That's what I wanted to do. I had a mentor. His name was Raymond Coffey. He was an officer in our small town. He's what started it. God rest his soul. My aunt called me, and she said, I need you to come to my house. Her husband had a stroke also at the time. And I said, okay. She's like, there's somebody here, and I need you here. She lived in the country. I was like, okay. Grab my gun, jump my car, man, beat it to my aunt's house. I get to the door, knock on the door, and she said, you don't need your gun. And I said, I thought you said somebody was here. She said, oh, they are. But it ain't nothing your gun's going to take care of. And I said, what do you mean? She said, come inside. So I went inside, and she had 4 bedrooms and a little small hallway. And kind of to explain, when you walk into the hallway, if you're walking straight ahead, there's a wall here. It had a mirror. On the left and the right side was 2 doors. You could go in that door to a bedroom, back to a bedroom, back to a bedroom, back to a bedroom, and do a square from that little entryway. Mm-hmm. And it had a mirror hanging on that wall. That mirror was reflecting a light into the front room on the wall, a square light right onto the front room wall. She said, sit down and look at that reflection and tell me what you see.
So at the reflection of the mirror onto the wall, that light that it reflects.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, she told me to look at the reflection that was reflecting onto the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it, and we're sitting there, we're watching TV. You know, the lights are all out except for he had a light on back there, so he wasn't in the dark. That light was reflecting out of the mirror onto the wall. So we're sitting there, and I see what looks like a thumb or something, you know, like a shadow come out, like just out of the, and it would come out like this and go back. It would come out like that, and then it would go back. And I thought, oh, I know what that is. That's the phone book. I got up because her phone was on the wall, the landline, and the phone book always hung underneath the phone, and it was blowing with the fan. So I took the phone book down and put it on the table, and I was like, problem solved. So I sat down, you know, we're sitting there, wasn't much longer than here it comes out, and it goes back. And I'm like, what the hell? So I get up. There was a story before this, I'll tell you before this, that happened before this. I jumped a little ahead. But after that happened, being young as I was and dumb, I'll call it dumb, I had to be Mr. Badass, you know, Mr. Tough Guy. So I walked to the hallway, and where it was coming out of, the door was open. But the door across the hallway was closed. So I opened the door and said, there, if you want to go through the hallway, go ahead. And I went and sat down. Shouldn't have done that. The whole head came out into that reflection. And it wasn't a shadow like you see on a wall. And I have trouble finding the words for this. The shadow was more detailed.
Oh,
I could see the hair was combed. You know, you can see the hair's combed. You can see the part in the hair.
Yeah,
I can see the nose. I can see the hair. You know that this is not a normal shadow. And it goes across into the other bedroom. My uncle, who was in that back room, had a really bad stroke. He got really, really upset that night. Really upset. And I'll tell you more off camera about that, but really upset. And we called my mom because at the time I wasn't saved. And my mom came, and my mom brought the Bible and told it to leave in Jesus' name. And it left, but our ears were on fire. And he passed away, put it that way.
Okay.
I feel like it came and took him. But our ears were hot. It was hard to breathe. But before that had even happened, my cousin had a teddy bear on his dresser before this night. And my cousin started living with us because he was afraid to live in that house. He saw a man standing in the bathroom and stuff, but the teddy bear that was on his dresser, he said, waved at him one night. And he woke up one morning. He would always come to our house when he would stay at his mom's, and he would come to our house around noon. And he came to the house one day and he told my mom, he said, Kay, look at this, Kay. And he raised his shirt up, and it looked like little baby handprints had slapped him all over his body all night long in that house. I stayed all night there one time when I was younger. Had to have my mom come and get me because I got too afraid to stay there. I was laid in the floor, and the kitchen table, the chair slid out, and then a glass of water slid across the table.
Oh yeah, dude.
I couldn't handle that, dude.
I've seen that stuff, man.
So,
I've seen it too.
I left.
I've seen the. You know the. You've heard of the Hat Man? I've seen that thing cross in front of a doorway in Germany when I was in a practice room. I heard walking down the hall, and I thought it was just another person going to a different band room. It was a place where a bunch of band rooms in. It was called the Power Tower. And it's an old pre-World War II building. Like almost, it's condemned now, but when I was there, it was still. And And I heard it, didn't pay no attention. I'm talking to my bandmates, and then I look over into the doorway where the light shines out of the room through the hallway onto the other wall on the other side. So it made like this, not a square, but like a rhombus shape. And I swear, dude, it was taller than the door frame, but you see the shadow just walk right across the door with the hat, whole nine, with the duster, everything. And I didn't even know what a hat man was then. I told somebody that. They go, oh, yeah, you saw Hat Man. And it didn't scare me, man, but I've seen these things. I've seen things move too. My sister said we used to have the Alf doll. You remember the Alf dolls when you were a kid? Alf.
Oh, yeah.
She actually said she see when I was telling you about the poltergeist, she said she saw it dancing. So when your cousin or whatever that was said he's seen that fucking struck a chord with me, man. It's the damnedest thing. It's the damnedest thing, man.
Well, when I was little, I thought I was crazy because I would get up and I was like 10 years old, maybe something like that. And I would wake up during the middle of the night and I would always go to my mom and dad's room and my dad would let me sleep by him. So I'd go to his side of the bed and I'd crawl up there and, and I'd lay on his arm. He'd cover me up. We'd go to sleep. I was going in there one night and my dad had won a lion at a circus, and it was like a glass porcelain lion, and it had one paw up, and it kind of sat, by the door.
Mm-hmm.
That thing grabbed me one night by the leg and wouldn't let me go, and I was scared to death. But later, I thought maybe it was a dream,
Yeah.
But then it happened to my sister. The same thing. So we got rid of that. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
You ever heard of pictures?
Of what?
You ever heard of pictures talking to people? A picture on a wall?
No, but I have heard where a person would leave the home and come back, and the pictures would be upside down in the frames.
I've had one where a picture was talking to a person I know. Well, my dad, and it was an Indian. And it was asking my dad who his family was, what our names were, and everything.
Yeah, man. I'm not going to deny that there's something dark. To deny the light, to accept the light, you have to accept that there's dark as well in this world.
Oh yeah,
and it coincides with the yin yang, whatever you want to call it, day, night, happy, sad, hot, warm, cold. It's all there. And you just keep fighting. Before I get you up out of here, man. Where can people find you so they can like see what it is that you are experiencing through your eyes?
Just Abnormal Investigations on YouTube, and I got Facebook.
Okay.
That's pretty much where I do everything. Maybe sometime I can have you over on the show and we can talk about a lot more. I've got some things that will probably blow your mind. Some things that we have found.
It's an open invitation that you can come back on this one as well, or I go over on yours. If you be about my experiences, we can do all those things. Because because a lot of people still feel. I mean, as a little child, or as a young child, as myself, when I told my parents these things, they told me to go back to bed because they didn't believe it. And when we're our age now and we talk about these things, it makes people not feel so alone. And they find us weirdos like us.
Right, yeah. I tease everybody and I always say, the devil scared the hell out of me, literally. I got saved because I saw that.
Fantastic.
So if I would have never saw that, I may have never got saved.
Yeah, I was in a very dark place, man, when I found God. I was in a very dark place. And it was just something. I was in the deep woods in the morning, cold. The sun wasn't even up yet, meditating, and like the sun was coming up, and all of a sudden it's like this knowledge of like you were wrong the whole time. I was an atheist for many years. Okay, many years. And you call it saved, I call it like cognizant recognition of your place in the world, in the universe. And we are talking the same language, but you use different words. And it's been a pleasure. You are such an awesome dude, man. And we have a great rapport.
Oh, it was an honor.
It was fucking awesome.
It was an honor being here. I really love being here.
Oh, it was great,
and if I can help you, and if I can help you any way, let me know. Feel free to on my Facebook page. If you want to join up over there, post your stuff over there. I'll pre-approve you, man. Where you can just post on there, put your stuff out there.
Same with mine, man. You can come over to the Eye of Jupiter. You got something you want to go ahead and let people look at. You can do the same thing, man. Open invitation anytime. And I would definitely take you up on coming on your show for sure. Just let me know when, okay?
All right, man. I'd love to have you.
All right, fantastic. Remember, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We are the Eye. We are aware, and I love you all. Later.